Chapter 92, Can't Beat Him, Can't Chase Him Away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xin Ya walked to the table and held the lamp, then turned her head and looked at Jiang Mo, who was still sitting on the windowsill and looking cool. "What are you doing here?" the little girl asked. Jiang Mo smiled at her and said, "I didn't see you going to the soul fighting arena, so I came here to have a look." Xin Ya said, "Don't worry, I am still alive. You can leave now after watching it." After saying this, she walked towards the windowsill and stretched out her hand to push him out. Jiang Mo grabbed her wrist and said, "I won't leave. I will follow you and wait for Lao Wu to come so that you can fulfill your bet." "You are so nervous," Xin Ya said displeasedly. "What if he doesn't come? How long do you have to wait here?" "You are very free." "I do have a little free time." Jiang Ma jumped down from the windowsill, sat on the sofa, put his feet up and said, "I just completed the mission, and I don't want to go back to Wuhuan Hall for the time being. Anyway, I'm going back to practice, so I might as well play with you. And I can guarantee that after Lao Wu discovers that the painting is missing, he will definitely chase after it. Maybe he is already on the road now." Xin Ya said, "Impossible, I have just received a letter from Guangling. He said that the military headquarters has been a bit busy recently, so he is probably still at the military headquarters and has not returned to the small hall at this moment. He may not know about painting yet." "Gone." Jiang Mo retorted, "According to Manager Chen, Lao Wu requires those 10 paintings to be wiped every day, so the servants will definitely find that one is missing when cleaning. And after I took the painting, I deliberately showed it in front of Butler Chen, and even hinted to him that I had entered his master's room, so Lao Wu would definitely think that I took it, and he would definitely chase after me." After hearing what he said, Xin Ya rolled her eyes and scolded him, "You are really seeking death. Jiang Mo doesn't care what the little girl says about him, he just has to stay here anyway." Xin Ya looked helpless when she saw that guy acting cheating, "But I can't fight but can't be beaten, and I can't drive away. What can I do? We can only let him stay here." Fortunately, they were going to the Star Forest tomorrow, so the little girl thought it would only be one night. "Forget it, bear with him. If you want to stay here, you can only sleep on the sofa, and I won't give you a blanket to cover you. You can handle everything by yourself." Saying that, Xin Ya suddenly walked over to the sofa, stretched out her little hand to grab Jiang Mo's collar, and warned, "You, absolutely are not allowed to go to the bed. Don't even think about taking advantage of me after I'm asleep. If you let me know, I won't be polite. Although you are a peak Douluo and I can't defeat you, I still have many ways to defeat you. Do you hear me?" Jiang Mo was sleeping with his eyes closed, but suddenly a pair of soft little hands grabbed his collar, and he opened his eyes. Then, a cute little girl appeared in front of him, threatening and warning him with her fierce tone, which made Jiang Mo feel particularly fresh. In all these years, no one has ever dared to threaten or warn him like this, and this person is still a little girl. At that moment, Jiang Mo began to understand why Lao Wu fell in love with Xin Ya. This bold and cute little expression was indeed endearing. He suddenly stretched out his hand to hold Xin Ya's little hand that was holding his collar, and pulled her towards him, playing with the taste. "Ju ho, why Ju? Let me see." At this time, one was lying on the sofa with provocative eyes, while the other was half hunched over a strong chest. At a loss, their eyes moved back and forth on each other's faces, and their breaths flowed between each other. Suddenly, Xin Ya reacted and suddenly shook off Jiang Mo's hand holding her own. She immediately stood up, looked at the man lying on the sofa, and cursed, You stinky hooligan and pervert." The little girl turned around, took the clean clothes on the bed, and quickly walked into the shower room. Jiang Mo lay on the sofa and closed his eyes again, but the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Half an hour later, after Xin Ya took a bath, she slowly opened the door to the bathroom, stuck her little head out and looked out, only to find that the man originally lying on the sofa was missing. "Hey! Where did that guy go? Didn't he just want to stay here? Did his conscience suddenly wake him up?" However, the little girl thought for a moment that it would be nice if he was not here, so as not to be embarrassed by what happened just now. She patted her chest and walked out of the shower room. After doing her daily skin care on her face in front of the dressing mirror, she lay down on the bed and closed her eyes to sleep. After Xin Ya fell asleep, a tall figure appeared on the window sill again. Xin Ya jumped into the room, walked to the bed, and looked down at the sleeping girl on the bed. He smiled, then he turned and walked to the sofa to lie down and close his eyes. He knew that the little girl must have been shy and embarrassed just now, so he deliberately avoided it and returned after she fell asleep. In fact, Jiang Yimou didn't know why he came here to look for her tonight. Anyway, he just wanted to come and have a look, so he came. Early next morning, Xin Ya was woken up by the early birds on the branches outside the window. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked at the sofa for the first time. She really didn't see Jiang Yimou, and she felt relieved immediately. Get up, freshen up, put on yoga clothes, and do yoga for an hour as usual. Yoga done. When she was changing clothes, Ning Rongrong knocked on the door. Xiaoya, get up and go have breakfast. Coming. Xin Ya immediately put on her clothes and left the room, and the two of them walked towards the cafeteria together. After breakfast, 8 people stood together in the middle of the playground, waiting for Dean Flender. After waiting for a quarter of an hour, Flanders and Zhao Wuji came from the direction of the wooden house of the dean's office. When he approached, Flanders looked at the 8 people in front of him and said, Oscar's soul power level broke through to level 30 yesterday. Let's applaud and congratulate him. At this time, the other 7 people applauded and congratulated him again. Oscar touched the back of his head and smiled embarrassedly. Thank you. After the applause, Flanders continued, Tang San, Xiao Wu, your soul power level has also reached the bottleneck of level 29. You should learn from Oscar and break through as soon as possible. Also, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing, you two should also work hard to practice and reach level 30 as soon as possible. Yes, Dean. Tang San, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing responded in unison. Okay, today's class begins. Flanders suddenly smiled and pushed his glasses, saying, Today's class is mainly about Teacher Zhao leading you to the Star Do Great Forest to help Oscar hunt the 3rd soul ring. Perhaps you think this is Oscar's business alone, but no, this is a training for all of you. Do you understand? I understand. The 8 people responded at the same time. Flanders said again, but before going to the Star Do Great Forest, you have to do an adaptive training course first. After he finished speaking, he looked at Oscar and said, Xiao Ao, turn out your sausages and give one to each person. Okay. Oscar instantly felt like he was alive, excitedly stretched out his hands, and began to silently recite his soul spell. I have a big sausage. I have a small sausage. After he finished speaking, 2 sausages with completely different flavors, one thick and one thin, appeared in Oscar's palms. At this moment, Xin Ya said, Dean, I won't eat that thing. Thank you for the tips from Yumao and Yixixi, thank you for your votes, and thank you for the silent readers, Sigma. Chapter 93, My dear, can you please cooperate with me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oscar had just made the sausage, but when he heard Xin Ya say she didn't want to eat it, he seemed to have a leak and looked at the dean pitifully. Flanders coughed and advised, Xiaoya, Oscar's soul spell is a little bit bad, but he is a food-type soul master with innate full soul power, and he is very talented. Hearing that he was a food-type soul master with innate full soul power, Tang San, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing all looked at Oscar in surprise. They didn't expect that. Oscar, who was usually careless, would actually have innate full soul power. At this time, Tang San looked at Xin Ya, and he found that she didn't react at all. In the soul master world, although there are few people with innate full soul power, there are some, but there has never been an auxiliary martial soul with innate full soul power, not to mention the food type. But Xin Ya didn't react at all after hearing it. Tang San once suspected that she was really too calm, or he had too little experience. Flanders continued, the martial spirit sausage made by Oscar is the best food-based martial spirit I have ever seen. And this is not only to train your mentality, but also to test the tacit understanding between you. As he spoke, he hinted to Xin Ya with his eyes, little ancestor, can you just cooperate? If you take the lead and don't eat, the other 4 will not eat either. Xin Ya naturally understood the hint in Flanders' eyes, but she just didn't want to eat. In her previous life, she had to look at the boss and the client's face everywhere in the workplace, and she had to force herself to do things she didn't want to do or didn't want to do. Now that she has been reborn, why should she compromise? Facing the Douluo masters such as Guangling and Jiang Imo, she couldn't beat them, so she had to compromise temporarily. But except for the Douluo masters, she didn't want to compromise with anyone or anything else. The little girl thought that her soul bone skill had healing light, and the healing recovery effect was even faster than Oscar's sausage. The only thing missing might be the fullness effect of the sausage. Xin Ya rolled her eyes, and her consciousness asked the system in her mind, "System, do we have anything similar to the sausage that can fill the stomach?" System, yes, there is a spiritual liquid in the points mall. Drinking a bottle can fill the stomach for 3 days, and it requires 10 points. Ah. 10 points is a bit expensive. We are so close, can we get a discount? System, okay, then I'll give you a half discount, 5 points. Yeah system, I love you, moi. System, Xin Ya's consciousness was driven out of her mind by the system again. At this time, Flanders winked at Xin Ya, but found that the little girl did not respond. He asked again, "Xiao Ya, you should eat Oscar's sausage. It won't do you any harm." Xin Ya regained consciousness and smiled, "Dean, I don't eat Xiao Ao's sausage because I have a skill that can replace the sausage. But the effect of that skill can only be used on myself, unlike Xiao Ao, which can be used as an auxiliary to others." The other people were slightly surprised when they heard her words. Although Xin Ya said that her skills could not provide auxiliary effects to others, it was already very good to be able to work on herself. After hearing what the little girl said, Flanders smiled and said, "Okay, in that case, you don't have to eat Oscar's sausage. But the others must eat it, especially Tang San, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing, the 4 freshmen. If you can't even do this, how can you survive in the Spirit Master world in the future? I tell you that in order to survive in the future, don't even mention a sausage. When your life is really threatened, you must eat even snakes, insects, rats and ants." Hearing snakes, insects, rats and ants, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing almost vomited. Flanders said impartially at this time, "Each of you must do this adaptive training, unless you have a soul skill that can be replaced like Xiao Ya, otherwise there is no need to stay if you don't want to." That he stood there with a cold face, telling the students in front of him with his expression that no one should try to get away with it. At this time, Ning Rongrong took the lead and said, "I'll go first. Actually, when I was running with Xiao Ao yesterday, I had already eaten that sausage when I ran the 8th lap. The effect and taste are really good, you can try it." After saying that, Miss Ning stepped forward and took 2 sausages without hesitation and started eating. Xin Ya watched from the side and suddenly felt quite relieved, because she met Ning Rongrong in advance. She had already conquered this little witch before coming to Shrek. Now Miss Ning no longer has that spoiled personality, she began to slowly transform. Tang San saw that Ning Rongrong could do it, so he couldn't lose to a girl. He also stepped forward without hesitation, took the 2 sausages from Oscar's hand, and stuffed them into his mouth in a few seconds. Instantly, a warm current made him feel comfortable and full of strength. Tang San looked at Oscar in surprise, and his understanding of food-related martial spirits changed from today. Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun had already eaten the sausages, so there was no need to eat them again. Now only Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing were left. Xiao Wu looked at Tang San pleadingly, her eyes asking if she could not eat them. Tang San took Oscar's sausages and walked to Xiao Wu, smiling and saying, "The taste and effect are both quite good, try them." After saying this, without waiting for Xiao Wu to react, he directly stuffed the sausage into Xiao Wu's mouth. Xiao Wu's face looked a little ugly, but she finally swallowed it. In the end, only Zhu Zhuqing was left, and everyone looked at the cold girl. For the first time, a reluctant expression appeared on Zhu Zhuqing's deserted face. At this time, Xin Ya said to her, "Zhuqing, do you want to defeat Dai Mubai? Do you want to crush this scumbag under the heels of your high heels?" As soon as he heard the word scumbag in Dai Mubai, Zhu Zhuqing instantly felt like a fighter jet. She quickly stepped forward and grabbed the 2 sausages from Oscar's hand, and stuffed them into her mouth without hesitation. While eating, she stared at Dai Mubai, as if those two sausages were Dai Mubai. When Dai Mubai saw Zhu Zhuqing's appearance and the sausage she was chewing in her mouth, the big white tiger was frightened for a while. Dai Mubai said with a slightly trembling voice, Zhu Zhuqing, don't be like this, I was wrong. I promise I won't go out to mess with women in the future, don't be so angry. Xin Ya said from the side at the right time, Zhu Qing is not just angry, she is hate, that when Dai Mubai heard the word hate, his whole body shook uncontrollably. After Zhu Zhuqing finished eating, he took the handkerchief Xin Ya handed her, wiped his hands, then glared at Dai Mubai fiercely, and stood back in the queue. The ice-cold girl is indeed an ice-cold girl. From the beginning to the end, Dai Mubai was in awe with just her eyes. Seeing that the four freshmen had adapted, Flanders smiled with satisfaction and said, Okay, all of you pass today's adaptability training. Remember, when you are together from now on, Oscar will be everyone's logistical supply. Don't remember those useless soul spells. Saving your life is the key. Next, Teacher Zhao will take you to the Star Forest. Teacher Zhao will not take action easily before encountering the 1,000-year soul beast. Everything is up to you. Let's go. Yes, Dean. Afterwards, the 8 Shrek people and Zhao Wuji left the academy together and ran quickly towards the Star Do Forest. After Xin Ya left, Jiang Mo, who had been watching not far away, also followed her towards the Star Do Forest. Chapter 94 Heading to the Star Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the way to the Star Do Forest, the rest of them were running alone, and only Xin Ya and Ning Rongrong were flying with swords. It was the first time that Zhao Wuji and Ma Hongjun saw Xin Ya flying with a sword. When they first saw it, their reactions were the same as Flanders. Later, when Zhao Wuji looked at Xin Ya, his expression was strange, with a look of fear and curiosity. Ning Rongrong whispered to Xin Ya, Teacher Zhao, you look weird. Xin Ya remembered that Flanders had told her that Guangling had used soul power to suppress Zhao Wuji and warned him when he was in the wooden house of the dean's office. Now hearing Ning Rongrong say that Zhao Wuji looked at her with a strange expression, Xin Ya smiled and said, It is probably because the sponsor's father used his soul power to suppress and warn Teacher Zhao when he went to find the dean. As a result, when he sees me now, he remembers what happened at that time. He feels a little unhappy, but he also has nothing to do with me. Ning Rongrong covered her lips and snickered. When you said that, I really wanted to see Teacher Zhao, the Feudal Ming King, look deflated at that time. Xin Ya also smiled. She also felt that Zhao Wuji was quite pitiful. Because according to the original plot, he bullied Tang San and was beaten by Tang Hao. Now that I have arrived, I don't know what happened that caused the original plot to deviate. She was the one who bullied Zhao Wuji, but she was replaced by Guangling and tortured him. However, facts have proven that no matter how people change, Zhao Wuji is the one destined to be abused in this party. Thinking of this, the little girl felt a little sympathy for Zhao Wuji, the tool bear. In fact, Zhao Wuji was afraid of Xin Ya, mainly because he was afraid of the father who was the financial backer behind her, and that Douluo expert is very likely to be from Wuhuan Palace. After all, many years ago, he had offended Wuhuan Palace. Although he escaped at that time and the matter was settled later, he was afraid that one day the Wuhuan Palace would suddenly settle old scores and be in trouble. After finally being at ease in Shrek for so long, Zhao Wuji naturally didn't want to run away anymore, and that day in Flanders' office, Guangling naturally knew about Zhao Wuji. It's just that it's been so long, and he didn't receive an order to arrest Zhao Wuji, so he didn't bother to care about him. At this time, Dai Mubai, who was running behind Zhao Wuji, asked Xiang Xinya, Xiaoya, you are over level 40, but you only have 3 soul rings. You have gone to the forest anyway, do you want to get the 4th soul ring by the way? Xin Ya drove the divine sword to fly and said nonchalantly, okay, if you happen to encounter a 10,000-year soul beast, just hunt it. That she has never been interested in hunting soul beasts and obtaining soul rings. After leaving Wuhuan City last time, if I hadn't been worried about whether to sell the Wolf Thief King's soul bones or keep them for myself, just to make sure whether I can get 100,000-year soul bone. That's why I am so active in hunting soul beasts and completing the divine examination. At that time, it was purely for money. However, since the fourth test was to kill the emerald demon bird, Xin Ya was a little discouraged. She planned to wait until the deadline to complete it. At this time, the other people heard Xin Ya's attitude and tone when she talked about hunting a 10,000-year soul beast. They all felt that how to hunt a 10,000-year soul beast was very simple when she said it. Sure enough, people with 3,000-year soul rings are the same. After Tang San heard Xin Ya's words, the feeling of unwillingness spread in his heart again. He thought that he was at level 29, and he felt that he was about to break through the bottleneck. He wondered if he could absorb a 10,000-year soul ring with his third soul ring. Tang San thought that Xin Ya's martial spirit could absorb 10,000 years, so since he was a twin martial spirit, his endurance would definitely be stronger than hers. Thinking of this, he decided that if he was promoted to level 30, he would also absorb a 10,000-year soul ring. He believed that he would not be worse than Xin Ya. Zhao Wuji asked Xin Ya, "You still want a 10,000-year soul ring, right?" Xin Ya nodded slightly, "Just get it when you find it. You don't have to look for it for me." "Good." Zhao Wuji nodded. Flanders told him before going out this morning, Xin Ya's sponsor father gave the college 10,000 gold soul coins. It can be said that this money solved the college's urgent financial needs in a timely manner, therefore, any request Xin Ya has must be met. Since the little girl wants a soul ring, and it lasts for 10,000 years, and the soul power levels of Mubai and the others would definitely not be able to deal with the 10,000-year-old soul beast. Zhao Wuji felt that he would have to take action himself. At this time, Xin Ya, who was flying with her sword, suddenly noticed a gaze not far away looking at her. But this time she was sure that the guy who conquered the demon was following. She has gradually been able to distinguish the difference between the gazes given to her by Guangling and Jiang Yamo. Xin Ya didn't expect that the guy didn't leave. Did he really want to wait until Guangling came? After that, as everyone continued to rush, their physical strength began to gradually deplete. Oscar began to make sausages for everyone. The others ate Oscar's sausages and were surprised to find that they became particularly energetic. Later, the need to eat sausages for replenishment became more and more frequent. In order to allow Oscar to make more sausages, Ning Rongrong and Oscar changed places and asked Oscar to fly with Xin Ya Yujin to save some energy to make sausages. Since Xin Ya flew with a sword, she didn't expend much energy, so she didn't plan to exchange her points for the bottle of spiritual fluid for the time being. The Great Star Forest is located in the southeast of the Balik Kingdom, and part of it borders the Balik Kingdom. Soto City itself is also in the southeast of the Balik Kingdom, not far from the Star Forest, only less than 500 kilometers away, so it took the 9 of them only one day to reach the small town near the Star Do Forest. This small town is still 100 kilometers away from the Star Forest, which is already very close. Night falls. The group planned to spend one night in the town and set off to the Star Do Forest tomorrow. They arrived in front of an ordinary hotel. Zhao Wuji said, "We will rest here for one night. You can move around freely in the evening. You will bear the cost of accommodation and meals by yourself. We will set off after breakfast tomorrow." The 8 people nodded and went to the hotel front desk to check in together. This hotel has 3 floors. The first floor is the restaurant, and the second and third floors are accommodation. When checking in, Zhao Wuji found a room for himself, and the other 4 boys happened to share the same room with them. So as to save some money, Xin Ya and Ning Rongrong were both wealthy owners, so they each opened a room. Xiao Wu was a lavish person but didn't save much money, so she offered to live with Zhu Zhuqin. The icy girl was used to being cold, so she didn't care, so she agreed. After the 9 people checked in, they went to the restaurant to have dinner together. Due to the regulations of the college, teachers cannot pay fees for students, let alone take advantage of students. So Zhao Wuji sat at a table by himself to eat. The other 8 people found a corner seat and sat down. They had just ordered their food when 2 men with extraordinary temperament walked in from the door of the restaurant. Everyone in the restaurant looked at the 2 people one after another, because the aura of these 2 people was very strong, giving people an inexplicable sense of oppression. At this time, Ning Rongrong saw the man coming in. She immediately bumped into Xin Ya's arm and whispered, "Xiaoya, your sponsor father is here." Chapter 95. Do you admit that I am your financial sponsor? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Xin Ya raised her eyes, and when she saw Guangling, she was stunned instantly. And Zhao Wuji had been covering his face with the menu since Guangling walked into the restaurant. At that moment, he inexplicably felt a dull pain in his paws. At this time, he thought it would be better to pretend to be dead. Dai Mubai and others also noticed that the two men who had just come in were very special. Ma Hongjun whispered, I don't know why, I feel that those two men are very oppressive. Do you think so? Dai Mubai echoed, more than oppressive, the aura is simply strong. I guess his soul power level is very high. Xin Ya thought to herself, of course it's high, it's a peak Douluo, how can it not be high? Oscar said, those two people can't be titled Douluo. Titled Douluo. The others were surprised. At this time, Xiao Wu began to panic. She leaned towards Tang San next to her and tried not to speak to reduce her presence. Tang San found that she was not right, and asked, Xiao Wu, what's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Xiao Wu whispered, brother, I really don't feel well, can you accompany me back to the room? Tang San nodded immediately, okay, I'll accompany you back. After saying that, he looked at the others and said, you eat first, Xiao Wu doesn't feel well, I'll accompany her back to the room to rest, and come down later. The others nodded. Tang San stood up, helped Xiao Wu up, and the two turned around and left through the side door of the restaurant. On the other side, the restaurant owner is a discerning person. When he saw the two men with extraordinary temperament coming in, he knew at a glance that they must be extraordinary. The owner immediately came forward and complimented, two guests, please take a seat here. Guangling ignored the restaurant owner. When he wanted to walk straight to the table next to Xin Ya's table, he was glared at by Xin Ya, and his eyes signaled, don't sit over here. Guangling had no choice but to sit at a table away from them, and Jiang Imo followed closely behind. After the two sat down, Guangling propped his head up with his hands and kept looking at the little girl in the corner. The restaurant owner handed the menu to Guangling and said, Sir, what would you like to order? Guangling pushed the menu away directly, let him order. Jiang Imo saw that he was only looking at the little girl over there, and teased, fifth brother, look at her for a while, she won't run away. Guangling glanced at him and said directly, stop talking nonsense, just order what I tell you to. I'll settle the matter with you after dinner for stealing my painting. Jiang Imo immediately fell silent, took the menu and ordered silently. Xin Ya heard the conversation between the two clearly. She laughed in her heart. It turns out that Jiang Imo is the kind of person who is all kinds of arrogant when he is not around, and immediately becomes all kinds of cowardly when he sees him. Guangling sent a voice message to Xin Ya and asked, do you want to come and eat with us? Xin Ya heard it, but she snorted lightly, turned her face away, and ignored him. Guangling was helpless. This little thing still didn't want to pay attention to him. Jiang Imo was watching from the side. He knew that it must be the fifth brother who sent a private message to the girl, but looking at the fifth brother, it seemed that the girl didn't treat him well. Seeing his fifth brother's frustrated look, Jiang Imo felt very happy. Finally, someone could control him. At this time, the dishes of several tables were served. Zhao Wuji finished his meal in a hurry, then immediately got up and quietly left the restaurant through the side door. When he went out, he happened to meet Tang San, who came back. Tang San asked in wonder, Teacher Zhao, you finished eating so quickly? Zhao Wuji just nodded slightly and left quickly. Tang San looked at Zhao Wuji, who seemed to be running away, with a puzzled look on his face. Then, he walked back to their table and sat down, and said to the others, Teacher Zhao is weird. He left before finishing the dishes. It seems like he is hiding from something. Oscar joked, maybe he is in a hurry to go to the toilet. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone made some associations, and several people surrounded and scolded him together. We are eating. Will you let me eat? Get out. Xin Ya also said, damn, my heart is shining. After hearing this, several people were stunned for a moment, and then laughed. Everyone said what this was, they had never heard of it. After a small episode, everyone continued to eat. At this time, Ning Rongrong picked up the dishes and whispered to Xin Ya, it seems that Teacher Zhao is afraid of your sponsor, so he hurriedly finished his meal and ran away. Xin Ya took a sip of soup, maybe. Although Guangling at the next table was eating calmly, his ears were erected, eavesdropping on the conversation between the little girl and Miss Ning. When he heard the words your sponsor, his eyes lit up instantly. Guangling immediately sent a message to Xin Ya, do you admit that I am your financial sponsor? Xin Ya sent a message back and retorted, no. If you eavesdrop again, I will pull your ears off. Guangling said, then after dinner, I will go to your room and let you pull them, okay? Hearing his words, Xin Ya couldn't help rolling her eyes while eating, she didn't want to talk anymore. At this time, 8 people walked in from the restaurant door. The leading man was in his 40s, followed by 6 men and 1 woman, 7 young people, about 20 years old. There was a green ring mark on the chest of their clothes, and the word Tsanghui was embroidered inside the ring. When the restaurant owner saw the word Tsanghui, he knew that they were teachers and students of Tsanghui College. Tsanghui College is a soul master college, so these people are soul masters. The boss didn't dare to offend soul masters. He stepped forward quickly, smiled and asked the 8 people to sit at a big table. At this time, Ma Hongjun stared at the only girl among the 8 people from Tsanghui College with his squinting eyes. Among the 8 people from Tsanghui College, a leading young man who had just followed the middle-aged man saw Ma Hongjun staring at the girls in their team lustfully. He sneered, fatty, you want to pick up girls from our college with your appearance. Just like a toad wanting to eat swan meat. Oscar couldn't help but say after hearing what the man said, we have 3 beauties here, we need to pick up your girls. Please go home and look in the mirror. The leading young man said unhappily, are you looking for death? Dai Mubai curled his lips, it's just a small Tsanghui college, who is looking for death is still uncertain. At this time, a waiter happened to come over with a tray with 4 or 5 dishes on it. The young man in the lead saw it, and when the waiter approached, he deliberately stretched out his foot to trip the waiter. The waiter tripped and almost fell, and the tray in his hand could not be held firmly, and fell straight to the table of the 8 people from Shrek. When the tray was about to fall on their table, Dai Mubai stood up decisively, kicked the tray and the dishes on the tray towards the table of Tsanghui College. Bang bang. A series of sounds of dishes and trays falling on the table. The dishes on the table of Tsanghui College had just been served, and now they had been hit by several other dishes, and the dishes and plates flew up and splashed all over the 8 of them. In an instant, the 8 people slammed the table, and the young man who had just led the group glared at Dai Mubai and said, you want to fight, right? There was an uproar in the restaurant, and the diners near the tables of Shrek College and Tsanghui College stood up and hid. But they didn't leave the restaurant immediately, because they had to pay to watch the soul fighting between soul masters. Now they can watch it for free. How can they miss it? Chapter 99. Is this tsundere guy trying to seduce her? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The words of Jiang Yamo made Guangling, who had just been appeased, frown again. Xin Ya wanted to die. They were both playing with sticks, but why was Sun Wukong not as mean as Jiang Yamo? Jiang Yamo bowed, leaned sideways in front of Xin Ya, and said, Xiaoya, come hurry up and fulfill the bet. Xin Ya immediately refused. I didn't agree to bet with you at that time, I clearly refused. Jiang Yamo looked at her, sent a voice message to her, and threatened, if you don't fulfill the bet, I will tell you about the night we spent on the top of the mountain. Xin Ya sent a voice message, saying indifferently, just say what you want to say. Anyway, nothing happened that night except you kept rubbing my hair. Jiang Yamo smiled and sent a voice message back, it didn't happen, but I can make it sound like something happened like I did just now. Do you want to hear me make up a story that will make my 5th brother completely mad? You. Just when Xin Ya gritted her teeth and wanted to send a voice message to scold Jiang Yamo, Guangling hugged her into his arms with one hand and pushed Jiang Yamo away with the other hand. He said in an unhappy tone, Xiaoya has already said that she didn't agree to you, so there is no bet. 7th brother, have you finished the things that big brother gave you? If you have, hurry back to Wuhuan City to report. If you stay here any longer, believe it or not, I will go back and tell big brother that you didn't report in time and put you in solitary confinement for a few months. You are using big brother to pressure me again. Jiang Yamo pouted, okay, I'm leaving, 5th brother. You'd better protect your little baby all the time, otherwise I will bully her when you are not around. Guangling kicked him, and Jiang Yamo staggered. He warned, if you dare to bully her, I will beat you so hard that you dare not go out. The demon-suppressing man uttered a tsk, but he didn't dare to argue anymore, and immediately turned around and walked quickly towards his room. Guangling took out the key to open the door and pulled Xin Ya into the room. In the room, Guangling sat on the bed without any hesitation, put his hands and feet together, and looked at the little girl in front of him with sparkling eyes. His handsome face that could be both manly and feminine, plus his lazy look on the bed at this time, made Xin Ya lose her mind for a moment. Oh my God! Is this arrogant monster trying to seduce her? I have to say, Guangling is really impeccable in terms of appearance. The great priest Qian Daolu and the third priest Qinghuan can be compared with him, but one is too powerful and the other is too cold. Although Guangling is a little arrogant, at least she can accept it. Looking at Guangling's appearance, the little girl swallowed her saliva. She was inexplicably blushed by his gaze. In order to stabilize her mood, Xin Ya deliberately found a topic to distract her attention. She walked over and said, "Didn't you say you would sleep on the sofa? What do you want to do by lying on the bed now?" Guangling's mouth curled slightly. "I haven't slept yet. I will go to the sofa when I sleep." He saw every move and reaction of the little girl just now, and also saw her slightly red cheeks. Guangling looked at her like that on purpose, wanting to know her reaction to him. Xin Ya saw that he was still looking at her with that look, and there were only the two of them in the room, and she felt an ambiguous feeling spreading. She also felt that her cheeks were a little hot. In order to distract attention, the little girl tried to find a topic again. "How did you know I was here?" Guangling said, "Butler Chen told me that the painting was missing. I knew it must have been taken by Jiang Imo, and I guessed that he would come to find you. So after dealing with the military affairs, I rushed to Shrek Academy immediately. Flanders said that you went to the Star Do Great Forest, and I guessed that you would definitely rest in this town for a night, so I came." Xin Ya said "oh" calmly, but she was roaring in her heart. It's over, the topic is over and it's going to be silent again. She felt her heartbeat start to speed up. Finally, she couldn't stand Guangling looking at her like this, and she said, "I'm going to take a shower." Just when Xin Ya turned around and wanted to run, Guangling sat up slightly, stretched out his hand and quickly grabbed her wrist, pulled hard, and directly hugged her to sit on his thighs. The little girl struggled. What do you want to do?" "I'm going to take a shower, let me go." The man held her legs with one hand and pressed her little head into his arms with the other hand, rubbing her soft hair, and asked, "Do you like the things I gave you?" Xin Ya wanted to say that she liked it, but after thinking about it, she deliberately said, "I don't like it." Guangling heard her tone and knew that she said this on purpose. He smiled and said, "Then I will continue to give it to you until you like it." The little girl snorted, "Whatever you want." Guangling grabbed one of her fingers and played with it, then asked, "Jiang Imo said that the painting is with you, right?" Xin Ya wanted to withdraw her finger, but he didn't give it to her. Then she heard him asking about the painting again, and nodded, "You want to take it back, right?" She was about to take the painting out of the system space, but Guangling held her hand and asked, "Is it beautiful?" The little girl nodded subconsciously, "Yeah, it's pretty." The man put his thin lips close to her ear and whispered, "That's the only girl I like, of course the painting is beautiful." Xin Ya instantly felt her heart skip a beat, as if something was about to rush out. She pushed Guangling away, stood up, and said, I'm going to take a shower." After that, she walked quickly towards the shower room. Guangling sighed inwardly when he saw her obvious avoidance. Xin Ya took a bath for more than an hour. It wasn't that she didn't wash well, but she was a little afraid to go out and felt a little embarrassed. But she couldn't wash anymore, her skin was wrinkled. She took out her pajamas from the system space and put them on, then quietly opened the door of the bathroom and secretly poked her head out to look around the room. At that moment, she wished that Guangling would leave temporarily like the demon, so that she wouldn't be so embarrassed. After looking around the room, she found that Guangling was not on the bed, but lying on the sofa, with his back to her. Xin Ya walked over quietly, walked to the sofa and looked, and found that Guangling seemed to be really asleep. The little girl was relieved immediately. It's better to fall asleep than to sit on the bed and look at her with that kind of eyes like just now. She walked to the dressing table, took out the skin care products in the system space, and after applying them, she turned off the lights, lay on the bed and closed her eyes to sleep. not long after the little girl fell asleep, Guangling, who was lying on the sofa, opened his eyes, sat up, walked to the other side of the bed, and lay down. Guangling lay on his side, supporting his head with one hand, looking at the little girl with closed eyes. Through the moonlight shining in from the window, he saw that her long eyelashes were trembling slightly. Guangling laughed in his heart, this little thing, she is so bad at pretending to sleep, and her eyelashes are always moving. The man's ice-blue eyes moved on her lips, and he lowered his head to kiss her. Just as his thin lips were about to touch her, the girl suddenly opened her eyes. Guangling looked into her eyes and asked with a smile, "Didn't you say that you would sleep like a pig with me around? Why did you wake up instead?" Hearing his words, Xin Ya quickly closed her eyes immediately. Just after she closed her eyes again, she realized that she was tricked by this guy again. But if she opened her eyes now, their current posture would be so embarrassing. Although I don't know what Guangling will do next, Xin Ya thinks it's better to close her eyes and be an ostrich. I went out for a day yesterday, and started writing after dinner at 10 o'clock in the evening. The new book and the old book have 4 chapters in total, and I wrote 9,000 words until almost 3 o'clock in the morning. A big flying insect came to harass me in the middle of the process, which scared me to death. Fortunately, my cat solved the flying insect. The cat is great, so I rewarded it with dried fish. I hope the babies will have fun reading books. Chapter 100, Sharing a Bed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The little girl quickly closed her eyes again, her hands tightly grasping the edge of the quilt. Her obvious nervousness made Guangling laugh. The man chuckled and suddenly had the urge to tease this little thing. Guangling leaned over again, his handsome face close to her slightly red cheek, and his breath sprayed on the girl's side face. Such a close male breath instantly made Xin Ya more nervous. She suddenly grasped the quilt tightly, and her breathing became slightly faster. Guangling's thin lips stayed 1 centimeter away from the little girl's cheek for at least 1 minute. During this minute, he watched her constantly nervous look and smelled her unique body fragrance. This minute was also a fatal temptation for Guangling. During this process, not only the little girl's breathing was slightly faster, but Guangling was also like this. It's just that as a strong man at the peak of Douluo, he can control himself better. Xin Ya had never felt that a minute was so long. She wanted to open her eyes and push Guangling away, but she was reluctant in her heart. But Guangling's approach made her nervous heart beat faster. This roller coaster-like torture made Xin Ya particularly uncomfortable. Just when she was about to be unable to bear it, Guangling suddenly lay down on his side and stretched out his hand to hold her in his arms. The man put his head on the top of her head and said, "Don't be nervous, I just want to hold you to sleep. I promise I won't do anything else." After he finished speaking, he kissed her hair with his thin lips, pulled the quilt over each other, and said, "Sleep." Hearing his words, Xin Ya actually believed it inexplicably, and the nervousness just now gradually disappeared. Originally, she thought she would not be able to sleep. After all, this was the first time she had slept with a man in her 2 lives. But unexpectedly, she nestled in Guangling's chest, listening to his strong heartbeat and slowly fell asleep. Many years later, the little girl wanted to laugh when she recalled the scene of the first time they slept together in the same bed, because her reaction was quite awkward at that time. In her previous life, she was busy studying at school, and after graduation, she worked overtime. Even though her appearance was not bad, she was still single. There were people chasing her, but she was not interested. And compared with men, Xin Ya loved money more at that time, because she would not die without men, but she would really starve to death without money. So in her new life, she just wanted money to make up for her busy life in the previous life that eventually led to her sudden death, and to be a salted fish and enjoy it. What she didn't expect was that Guangling broke into her salted fish life in the Douluo Continent, which caught her off guard. Of course, these are all later stories. At this time, Xin Ya only knew that Guangling had bullied her, deceived her, and set her up before, so she was angry. Even if he wrote a note and confessed to her face, she would not accept it and chose to escape. But every time Guangling approached, she would blush and her heart beat. Xin Ya thought that she probably had feelings for Guangling, but she didn't want to forgive him because she remembered what happened before. In that case, she would just leave him alone. because that arrogant girl blamed her for what she did before. At this moment, the two of them slept together until dawn. Early morning, a ray of morning light shone into the big bed in the room. The little girl lay on the man, with her little head resting on a strong chest. Originally, they both lay on their sides before falling asleep last night, but somehow Xin Ya's little hands wrapped around Guangling's waist while they were sleeping. Guangling simply lay flat and let her sleep on him, but from that moment on, he couldn't fall asleep, because the hands wrapped around him were too tight, so he couldn't sleep at all. He could only stare at the ceiling of the room until dawn. Xin Ya woke up slowly. She closed her eyes and mumbled a few words, and her little hands touched everywhere, thinking in her mind, "Oh, what is this, so elastic? It feels good to pinch." Guangling put his hands behind his head and looked down at the little thing's hands touching and pinching his chest. He smiled and said with a cough, "Have you taken advantage enough? Wake up, you've tortured me all night." Hearing Guangling's words, the little girl was confused. How could there be a man's voice? Taking advantage? Who took advantage? Who tortured whom? A series of question marks kept flashing in Xin Ya's little head that was not fully awake. Guangling knew that this little thing must not have woken up yet, so he stretched out his hand and pinched her little face. "Xin Ya pig, get up. If you don't get up, I will kiss you." "Well, kiss?" Xin Ya's head suddenly flooded with the scene of Guangling approaching her before going to bed last night, and she suddenly woke up. Opening her eyes, she saw the man's sharp jawline, and then she found herself lying on his body. The little girl wanted to go down and lie back on the mattress, but she felt strange when she moved. Guangling held her with one hand and said in a deep voice, "Don't move." Xin Ya was startled instantly, turned her head slightly and looked at the propped-up quilt. At that moment, she didn't dare to move at all. You. She said "you" for a long time, not knowing how to say it better. Guangling closed his eyes and said, "Just wait a moment." After he finished speaking, he reached out and pressed the little girl's head back to his chest. Xin Ya didn't dare to move, so she could only continue to lie on him like this. At this time, neither of them spoke again, and the whole room fell into silence. After about half an hour, Guangling's voice came from above her head. "You want to go into the Star Do forest with them later, right?" Xin Ya said. Guangling rubbed her hair and coaxed, "Don't go with them. If you want the fourth soul ring, I will hunt it for you. It's up to you to choose." The little girl hummed, "I won't go with you. You will bully me or set a trap for me later." Suddenly, the man hugged her and turned her over, pressed her into the mattress, looked at her and said, "I promise not to bully you in the future. Please forgive me, okay?" "Not good." Xin Ya looked away. "I don't believe you. You tricked me last night." Guangling pulled her little face back and said with a smile, "There is no trick on you. It was you who said that if I was here, you would sleep peacefully and not wake up. Who knew you were pretending to sleep?" Xin Ya stretched out her hand to push him and said, "No matter what, you are just tricking me anyway, tricking me into closing my eyes, and then deliberately teasing me, you big bad guy." "Okay, I'm the big bad guy." Guangling followed her wishes, then grabbed her little hand, put it to his lips and kissed it. When the man's thin lips touched her hand, the little girl seemed to be electrocuted. She immediately withdrew her hand and bit her lower lip with a look of confusion on her face. Guangling lowered his head and approached her, whispering, "Can you let me go to the Star Do forest with you?" Xin Ya looked at the enlarged handsome face and asked with a blush on her cheeks, "Aren't you going back to Wuhuan City? I was busy with the military affairs in the past few days. Now I can take a break and come here to accompany you." As he spoke, he pressed his forehead against hers, and the two looked at each other closely. Who wants you to accompany me?" Xin Ya looked at his approaching face. She could no longer speak. That little head could only keep shrinking into the mattress, but her back was the bed, and she was pressed by him, so there was no room for her to hide. When the little girl was about to kiss his thin lips, there was a knock on the door suddenly. Chapter 101. I will rely on your title of financial sponsor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the room door, Miss Ning knocked on the door and shouted, "Xia Ya, are you up? Let's go to the restaurant to have breakfast. We will leave after eating." Hearing the sound outside the door, the two people lying on the bed were instantly pulled back from their thoughts. Xin Ya shouted back, "Get up, you go down first, I will go down later." "Okay, hurry up then." "New." After finishing her words, Xin Ya looked at the man who was still pressing her. "You are so heavy, don't press me, get up." Good things were interrupted. Guangling sat up with an unhappy look on her face, but Xin Ya was extremely happy at this moment in her heart. She was so grateful to Ning Xiaorong. She was still angry with Guangling, so she didn't want to kiss him, but she was restrained by Guangling just now and she couldn't push him away. Fortunately, Miss Ning came and knocked on the door in time, otherwise, well, I don't dare to think about it. Now that Xin Ya saw Guangling's gloomy look, she suddenly felt a little relieved that he couldn't kiss her. The little girl couldn't help covering her lips and snickering. Guangling saw her proud look and reached out to pinch her face. "Do you think you can run away?" Xin Ya snorted, swatted his hand away, got up and got out of bed, walked into the shower room to freshen up and change clothes. When she came out after washing up and Guangling was about to go in and take a shower, Xin Ya remembered that he didn't take a shower last night. She said something quickly, "You didn't take a shower, you stink so bad. Don't go to my bed without taking a shower from now on." Just after she finished speaking, the little girl realized that she had said something she shouldn't have said. She wanted to bite her tongue off. Xin Ya's cheeks instantly turned red with embarrassment, and she immediately turned around and left the room. Guangling thought of what she had just said and how she was running away now, and he laughed happily. In the restaurant on the first floor of the hotel, Xin Ya quickly walked into the restaurant and rushed to Shrek's seat and sat down. Ning Rongrong saw a thin layer of sweat on her forehead and her cheeks were red, so he took out a handkerchief to wipe her sweat. "Xiaoya, what's wrong with you? Is it very hot today? You are sweating and your cheeks are red. Are you sick?" "I'm not sick, it's just I'm a little hot." After saying that, Xin Ya took the bowl and chopsticks to eat breakfast. "This weather, hot?" Dai Mubai and Ning Rongrong looked at each other in confusion. Originally, a few people wanted to ask her about the silver-haired man last night, but seeing the way she was immersed in eating, they didn't want to ask more questions. The 8 of them ate for a while. Oscar inadvertently looked up at the door of the restaurant and saw their teacher Zhao walking in together with the silver-haired man from last night. His eyes suddenly brightened, and he said to the others, look, teacher." Zhao and the silver-haired man from last night came in together. As soon as these words came out, the other people all looked towards the door of the restaurant, including Xin Ya. Xin Ya looked at Guangling who was walking towards her in confusion. "Don't you want him to follow you?" "Good guy, he actually went directly to find Zhao Wuji." Just now, Guangling left the room after taking a shower and went directly to find Zhao Wuji. He stated that he wanted to go to the Star Do forest with Shrek because he wanted to take care of his Xiaoya and help her hunt for soul rings. However, Guangling also explained that he was only responsible for Xin Ya's affairs and that no one else had any care. As for Zhao Wuji, this strong man not only suppressed him, but also gave the academy 10,000 gold soul coins. It can be said that Guangling is now the rich man of their college, and Zhao Wuji has no reason to refuse Guangling to join the team. "I can only agree." At this time, the two of them walked from the door of the restaurant to Shrek's table. Zhao Wuji introduced to the 8 people sitting. "Little monsters, let me introduce to you. This is the 5th young master next to me. He is Xiaoya's father. He will go to the Star Do forest with us later." The sponsor's father? In addition to Ning Rongrong, Dai Mubai, Oscar and others all started talking. What does the sponsor's father mean? When Xin Ya heard Zhao Wuji introduce their relationship, the corner of her mouth twitched. This stinky Guangling actually talked about the sponsor's father everywhere. Zhu Zhuqing was rarely curious about gossip, so she whispered to Ning Rongrong who was sitting next to her, "What does the sponsor father mean?" Miss Ning smiled and explained the meaning of the sponsor's father in the cold girl's ear. After Zhu Zhuqing listened, he finally understood why Xin Ya was so rich and fearless. It turned out that there was a backer with strong financial and strength behind her. When Dai Mubai and Oscar heard that Ning Rongrong knew what the sponsor's father meant, they all asked her, but Miss Ning stopped talking. She told Zhu Zhuqing that it was just because she and Xin Ya were more compatible with Zhu Zhuqing in private. As for the other ones, she didn't think they were compatible except for Oscar. when Dai Mubai and others saw that Ning Rongrong refused to say anything, and they couldn't directly ask Xin Ya, the person involved, they had no choice but to hold back on gossip for the time being and look for opportunities to ask again later. Zhao Wuji said, "You guys should hurry up and have breakfast. We will set off after eating." 8 people nodded. Zhao Wuji sat at the next table, Guangling walked directly to Xin Ya, and Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing immediately stood up and moved to the side. Guangling sat down and looked at the little girl staring at him with a smile. Xin Ya hummed, "Didn't I tell you not to follow me when we were in the room, and you still came?" Guangling sat sideways facing the little girl, put one hand on the back of her chair, leaned close to her and whispered, "Primitive forests like the Star Doe forest have many soul beasts, and there are even 100,000-year-old soul beasts. Zhao Wuji, a soul saint who is only at level 76, is taking the aid of you. If we are really in danger, how can he care about you? As your sponsor father, I must come to protect you personally." Xin Ya punched him in the chest and cursed, "I didn't admit that you are my sponsor father, you are not allowed to tell others nonsense again. Also, I will return the 10,000 gold soul coins you gave the dean to you now. We have nothing to do with it." Guangling grabbed her little fist and said, "It's useless for you to pay me back the money. I won't accept it. If you don't admit it, I will call myself. Anyway, I will rely on the title of your sponsor father. You." Xin Ya was about to scold Guangling, but was interrupted by the laughter of Miss Ning who was sitting next to them. Because Ning Rongrong was sitting close to the two of them, she heard the conversation between Xin Ya and Guangling clearly. These two people really knocked her to death. At this time, Ning Rongrong saw the two of them looking at her at the same time. She chuckled and said, "You two, please continue. Treat me as if I don't exist. From today on, I will hold up the banner for you." Xin Ya glared at Miss Ning angrily, and at the same time glared at Guangling, and then stopped talking. The rest of the people at the table, as soon as the mysterious silver-haired man sat down, they began to immerse themselves in their food while peeking at the two of them from time to time, although I couldn't hear what Xin Ya and her sponsor dad were saying. But judging from the two sitting so close and holding hands, they have determined that their relationship is unusual. As for Xiao Wu, she felt bad all the time when the silver-haired strong man walked towards them, and she kept shrinking towards Tang San. Tang San didn't know what was wrong with Xiao Wu, he just thought she was still a little uncomfortable, so he kept holding her hand to comfort her.